are Sint Maarten. You are Sint Maarten.
The URSM, the Unified Resilient Sint Maarten Movement, being a political movement, will be hosting a weekly radio program called You Are Sint Maarten, every Wednesday from 6 to 7 p.m. on Radio Mix 94.7 FM. I myself, Dr. Ms Felisha, the political leader of URSM, will be hosting this radio program in which current issues, actualities and general topics will be discussed with the people of Sint Maarten. So join us every Wednesday on Radio Mix 94.7 for our radio show You Are Sint Maarten.
You are Sint Maarten. You are Sint Maarten.
Dear people of Sint Maarten, good evening. Welcome once more to your radio program You Are Sint Maarten on Radio Mix 94.7 FM. As you know, we are broadcasting on a weekly basis an informative radio program that is wherein I'm the host. And of course, it has been organized by the URSM, the Unified Resilient Sint Maarten Movement. So hence that's why I welcome you to our radio program using the abbreviation of Unified Resilient Sint Maarten Movement, the URSM being You Are Sint Maarten on Radio Mix 94.7 FM. I myself, Dr. Ms Felisha, being the surgeon in Sint Maarten, I think that a lot of people know me already, and preferable knowing me on the street, because if you know me in the hospital, that means something is not going good and well with you. So I prefer you to recognize me as a committed and passionate citizen of Sint Maarten, wanting the best for our beloved Sint Maarten. Today we have another weekly program of the You Are Sint Maarten radio program. As you know, I am the political leader also of the Unified Resilient Sint Maarten Movement that will contest the upcoming parliamentary elections of country Sint Maarten. A lot of people are asking me, Dr. Ms Felisha, when are the upcoming elections? And of course, I would like to say as soon as possible, seeing how this country is being run at this particular moment. But we will have to be patient, and officially I understand it will be in November next year or in January 2024. But I have the feeling that the populace is getting impatient because the country is not offering the foundation for prosperity for one and all in this country. Anyway, we will not give up. We will continue doing what we have to do to build up this country and continue to contribute to the nation building of this beloved country, Sint Maarten. As you know, URSM stands for putting the people and the country above self. And of course also because we are doing this program, we believe in informing and educating the people of Sint Maarten. We are presently presenting this weekly program in which current topics, community developments and issues and general matters concerning the people of Sint Maarten are discussed. As you know, every week we have a invitee in our radio program, and today I decided to give the opportunity to what I think is the future of Sint Maarten, and it is the next generation. And I decided to invite a very nice young person in the name of Felisha Brooks. Felisha Brooks is a born Sint Maartener with an impressive educational background. And I believe that we have our people here, our well-educated people in Sint Maarten, and we have to learn to acknowledge them and also give them the opportunity to apply the knowledge that they have got abroad with their academic education and come back to our country, really help them, set them up in a way that they can really contribute to a great evolution of Sint Maarten. Today I have with me Felisha Brooks. Felisha Brooks, actually, I can also inform you that I have approached Felisha Brooks because I was so impressed once I met her once with her inner education that she was radiating to me. And I said, but wow, this girl is very, very educated. And that triggered me, as a matter of fact, to approach her. And the first question I had for her is, Alicia, I have a unified, resilient Sint Maarten movement with a good heart for Sint Maarten. And I would like young, educated, great people with a good heart for the country to help me with this movement. And I approached her and asked her, Alicia, why don't you join me? And we start to found a next generation platform of the unified, resilient Sint Maarten movement. And to my surprise, without hesitating, Alicia agreed immediately to join me. And now we are in the phase of setting up a next generation platform with young, dynamic people that actually will be the next generation that will be calling the shots for this community. And I do believe in persons like Felisha Brooks, and that is the reason that I said, Felisha, it would be great if you would come with me to this You Are Sint Maarten radio program, to just for us to have a nice talk, for the people to realize that we really have well-educated, younger people in our community that we should help for them to get the right opportunities to contribute to their country. Felisha, I had a long introduction with you. First, Felisha, I would like to thank you for your time that you took out to be here with us in our program. And I would like to welcome you this evening to our program. Felisha, welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Mussolina. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for inviting me to be here today. As you said, my name is Felisha Brooks, and I'm from Sint Maarten. I'm from Philipsburg. And I have a particular interest in politics, which should be highlighted by my educational background.
Of course. Felisha, that's why before we continue, it is very nice what you wanted to tell us all. Before we continue, of course, going into several topics that keeps us all busy, that love this country, I would like you to use your biography, your educational background, for you to tell the people of Sint Maarten actually who is this Felisha Brooks.
Okay. Well, specifically, I have an educational background in business and politics and law. So I have a bachelor's degree in global leadership, which I gained at the University of Indianapolis, Indiana. And global leadership is kind of like international business with a bit of a international relations political slant to it. It was a new degree at the time that I did it, so I was in the first class of people that did that degree. And then I went on to do a master's degree in London at the University of Brunel. I did a master's in international relations, and I did my thesis on sovereignty and the European Union.
Sovereignty?
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
Sovereignty as a dynamic and changing institution. And then I did a postgraduate certification in international law, specifically criminal and human rights law.
Okay. So if I can summarize your educational background, Felisha, you have a global leadership education that you did in Indiana. Secondly, a master's you have in international relations. And even after that, you had a postgraduate certificate in international laws. And that one you did also in London?
Yeah, the same university, Brunel.
Okay. And what took you first to go to Indiana?
I went to Indiana for a couple of reasons. One, it was a small university. So being from a small island, I felt more comfortable with smaller class sizes. And then also, I didn't have to do SATs. So they took the Caribbean qualifications, they accepted those.
Very good.
So I got to bypass that, what I think is kind of unnecessary for Caribbean students to go through. So that's how I ended up in Indiana. I actually picked it randomly out of a
Okay.
college magazine.
Okay.
But it ended up being a good choice.
Wow, very good.
Yeah.
But now the switch from Indiana to London. Felicia, explain me that one out.
Okay, that happened because initially my first degree was in entrepreneurship. That's what I started in. During that program, I ended up doing some international business classes as a requirement. And I realized I like the larger scope of that. So that's when I switched to global leadership. And going through that and getting a taste of international relations, that's when I decided I wanted to do a master's in it. But I wanted to travel somewhere else. So I didn't want to stay in the same country. I wanted the opportunity to see somewhere else. So I ended up going to London to do that degree.
Okay. After your educations, Felicia, you stayed a while in London or in Indiana to start with, or did you came immediately back to the Caribbean?
I came immediately back to the Caribbean after I finished the master's. I came back, and then I left again, and I did the postgraduate certificate, and then I came back.
Okay. Did you do your studies with a scholarship of the government of Sint Maarten, or did you do that with own force, as we say?
No, I had a scholarship that covered my bachelor's and master's.
Okay.
But that was not from St. Martin's government. I had a
Okay.
partial university scholarship, and then I also had a scholarship from Angola.
Okay.
That's where I got the funds to do that, it took off a lot of pressure because I didn't have a lot of loans to pay back. The postgraduate certificate, that I took that loan out myself to do that because I was just so interested in human rights law at the time. So I paid for that one myself.
Okay. But so to hear you have a beautiful educational background, Felicia,
Thank
and
you.
every time again we are talking about that we need to increase our professional treasury of our country, because as you know, once you're talking about a country status as country Sint Maarten, that is actually in this specific case a very young country, the first thing that you have to work on is of course your professional treasury. That is what you need in a country. Felicia, I do believe what I'm going to ask you, but I want to ask you still, do you see great opportunities for a person like you, for example, in country Sint Maarten, seeing the state that we are in now, that we are evolving and we're getting to a phase that we are becoming more and more autonomous, and we will have to start selling ourselves on the international market. Do you see opportunities for you and your background education to have a great contribution in this?
I would say yes, because there's always opportunities. So even if there are difficulties, because for any Caribbean island, St. Maarten specifically, as it's not a completely autonomous or independent island, you have a lot of unique struggles. But there's always chances and there's always opportunities. And that's why I think it's important to have people of varying backgrounds. So like I have my education in politics, and then we need people with educations in tech, in finance, in all these different things.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do think that there are opportunities, but sometimes it can feel difficult to see them because I think we have a lot of young people that either have qualifications or want to have qualifications, but they don't necessarily know of or can see their way towards being able to realize those opportunities.
But that's true what you're saying, Felicia. There are two phases in what you're saying, two aspects actually. The first one is you have to make sure that you create the base opportunity for individuals to educate themselves. And secondly, once they are educated, you have to create the atmosphere too that welcomes them back to help their country. I'm going first back with you to the first one. As you know from the URSM, I'm very concerned, and we are very concerned as a political movement, to the educational level of our country. And that is also the reason, except the Committee of Next Generation that the two of us are working on, we have also a Committee of Education in our movement with professionals within education background, teachers, etc., that are working on a vision plan for education for the country. You know, Felicia, what is our problem in this country? We want to be a country, but there are a lot of issues in our country that we did not define how we want to have it for our country. For example, as you know, I'm a doctor. We are building a new hospital building, a structure, but we are not asking ourselves now what type or what level of healthcare do we want for our country. If we go back to the specific topic that we're talking about education, we want to be a country, and actually on paper we are a country. If you follow the charter of the kingdom, we are of course a autonomous country as such. But on the other side, we want to call ourselves a country. We want to have the status of being a country, but we never thought about the level of education. What type of education do we want to give to the people of our country? And that makes it very difficult if every time again we see that we're getting ourselves in problems. But every time I know why we get ourselves in problem is because we are not doing first things first. We have to first define what we want, work towards it, realize it first, and then we can go to the second step. For example, we are talking, as I said just now, about the professional treasury for our country. I think you are one of them. And I think that you are not enough in the spotlight for the country to know that we have experts on the field of international relationship. We have experts that had an education about leadership. And that we have an expert here between us from our country, born in Sint Maarten, with a background of international law. First of all, we have to work on it. More people get the opportunity to go and do those studies for us. And secondly, now our second plan is to make sure that we create a great atmosphere for these people, these younger people, well-educated people to come back. We have to make it attractive for them to come back to their country too. In your case, for example, I see that you are a few years here. If I would have been in government, I would place you immediately by the Department of Foreign Affairs, because I think this is the place a professional like you should be in our country. A Felisha Brooks, born in Sint Maarten, with a background education of international relations, being a professional in international laws, an educated person. And again, what more do we want in this country like a person like you to keep our flag high when it comes to international relationships for our country? But our problem is, Felicia, that we send a lot of students back, students to study, and then all of a sudden we make them their life very miserable, very difficult for them to come back to our country to work. Do you have the ambition, Felicia, to help and promote Sint Maarten on international level, being part of this country, Sint Maarten?
Yeah, I would say definitely. But in general, I do care about the well-being of our island, and specifically of the people, the safeguarding of the people that live here. So I think positioning Sint Maarten in an international sense is definitely important, because we do live in a globalized world. So nothing happens in a vacuum, so we can't isolate ourselves. However, there's so much things internally for us here that are broken, that we have to look at and fix for the people that are here. Because I've traveled to different countries, different continents, but not everybody will do that. You know, for some people this is their entire world. This island right here is their entire thing. This is where everything they have and everything they've been is here. And so I want Sint Maarten to be positioned in a way that we can be proud of it.
Yes.
You know, like, I mean, of course, you should already be proud of your island and where you're from, but I just mean so that when you're elevated in your own space and you feel safe and comfortable in your island and you feel like you can maneuver and do things, it creates a singular feeling of pride. And that's what I want to see
Felicia,
for our people.
you're killing my heart when I hear you talk, and that's why I've always been inspired by you. I want to keep you close by me in this adventure that I'm in, all of us are in with this URSM, because as you know, I'm very sensitive for people with the thoughts that you are walking around with. Felicia, just now you said we have to fix our country first to make it a comfortable home for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
Can you help us a little with your ideas about fixing, and what would you like to see fixed in this country?
The couple things that come to mind immediately for me, one would be diversification of our economy. And I know this is one that is kind of maybe spoken about a lot, but our over-reliance on tourism. We're always like one pandemic away, or one hurricane away from collapse. Because if the minute people stop streaming into the island as, you know, tourists, everything kind of halts and stops.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not sustainable. So I know that it's important and tourism will always be important. But I just feel like if we don't diversify somehow, we're not going to really move forward.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one thing. Another to me is housing. I just feel like there's Sint Maarten, the Dutch side is very small in terms of land mass. And there's just not really enough opportunity for the people here to own a piece of it.
Mm-hmm.
Or to have really quality and affordable housing. So we have a lot of developments. We have a lot of hotels. We have a lot of condominiums. But how much of that is really accessible to the average citizen on this island? So every time we take more land and we build another huge project, there's less land for the people here to be able to establish something for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another thing.
Wow.
Yeah. And I guess I could go on, but those are two major things.
Felicia, you are touch basing on diversification of the economy, what I also believe in, that we should put more attention to that instead of only focusing on tourism.
Mm-hmm.
The housing is also another one that you would like to fix for the country. For example, you spoke about housing, make it accessible for the people of the country, and that's why I said that a few times already. I believe in two types of housing. I believe in social housing that at the end of the day should be transformed in a formula of rent to buy for the less fortunate in our society that have less buying power, still to help them, because I find it our responsibility to help everybody in life in a way that at a certain moment they are strong enough to continue with their life and the next generation following them. So I do believe that for the lower social class, we should arrange a form of acceptable housing in the form of rent to buy. So they pay, for example, 15, 17 years, they pay the rent, and all of a sudden then the house is then on their name, and it becomes they become the owner of that property. Another one of the housing is always what I say is affordable housing. You have people that have a decent job, but the percentage of interest that they have to pay for the mortgage is so high that at the end of the day, the amount that they have to pay on a monthly base for their mortgage is going to be at the end of the day irrealistically high for them. So,
Right.
And I said it many times already, a great manner to solve that problem is to institutionalize a development bank or a national bank for Sint Maarten, as they call it in Dutch, an ontwikkelingsbank. And then you can give out mortgages at a lower interest rate percentage of about 1.5–2%, instead of the commercial interest percentage of 7–7.5%, because that is killing the people of Sint Maarten. Another one that we have to fix also is the education of our country. First of all, we have to define what type of education do we want. And of course, I cannot leave it to say it again, we have to work on our healthcare and define what type and level of healthcare do we want for our people of our country. Felisha, we are having an interesting conversation here about Sint Maarten. Unfortunately, time is running on us. We're going to take a small break and we will be back in a few minutes. Dear people of Sint Maarten, welcome to our second half of our radio program, You Are Sint Maarten, on Radio Mix 94.7 FM. As I said in the first half of our radio program, we have today with us Felisha Brooks, a citizen, young person in our community with an impressive education background. And for that, she inspired me when I met her for the first time, that I said, now a person like Felisha Sint Maarten has to know that we have those professionals walking around with us here, while we're screaming every day that we have lack of professional treasury for our island, while we are fighting so hard to level up to another level when it comes to nation building, as we say. And today we have with us Felisha Brooks, that, as we said, has a education background in global leadership, in international relations, and also a postgraduate certificate in international laws. Felisha, welcome to our second half of our program. I'm so impressed with your education background that I thought it was worth it to repeat it in the second half of our program. Felisha, just now we spoke about a few topics that we always discuss when we are in our committee of the next generation platform of the country, Sint Maarten. And first of all, you spoke in the beginning, in the first half, about the diversification of the economy of Sint Maarten. Let's talk a little about that topic. You said, okay, let's not focus only on tourism. You are the new, younger generation, good education. Do you have some ideas that you say, if we could work on those things, it would broaden the opportunities for the younger generation? Help me out a little, Felisha.
Okay. I think, first of all, it's easy to say that we need to diversify our economy.
Yes.
But I understand that it's a difficult thing. It's not the easiest, and I think we need maybe some more unconventional thinking when it comes to our diversification. So one of the things that will come to mind for me as a younger person who spends a lot of time online is to use that platform for some kind of progress. A lot of us do spend a lot of time on the internet, and if we can make that kind of a focus for younger people in a way that it's not just some way to spend the time, but it has some money-making potential, I think that's an avenue that's worth having some special focus on. So when you have a small country like this, and say you sell a product, you have a very limited pool of people to sell that to. But if you can create some kind of digital platform, then all of a sudden the entire world becomes a potential customer. And I want people in Sint Maarten to have more access to that. And at the forefront of that would have to be easy ways to get digital payments on the island. And I find that that's not the easiest thing to do at the moment. Talking about things like how PayPal is such a useful instrument for a lot of small businesses that exist online. You can get your payments through that. It's not as easy if you're in St. Martin.
But PayPal is not accessible for us here on Sint Maarten, right?
Definitely not in the way that it would be for, say, an American citizen or a British citizen, where it's super easy. You get your money in, you connect it to your bank account. Your money comes in, you put it in the bank account just with a few clicks. If that was as accessible to us here, then that alone would help with the diversification, because we can create a plethora of businesses online. All of a sudden, any kind of talent, a passion that you may have, that can translate digitally, digital products, whether it's art or freelance web designers, coding, you could create, you can have a whole new avenue for financial independence and freedom here on the island, where you don't necessarily have to always depend on a job in the tourism sector or something where you have to drive out and go to work every day. You can work from home. And we notice in the Caribbean, we have this thing, this digital nomad thing, where we allow people from the US and other countries to come and live on the island for months at a time because they work from home. So all they need is their laptop. But it's not as easy for our citizens. And I think we should have that kind of access too. We shouldn't be left behind in that way. And if we do that, then we have a whole generation of people with a whole different host of talent that don't necessarily have to spend tens of thousands of dollars on degrees. Of course, that's still a good thing, but we would have different ways of learning new skills, different ways of using our talents to generate money for ourselves.
Well, that's a wonderful idea that you are explaining to the listeners. Another one is our unemployment that we will have to work very hard on in this country. You know, Felisha, I like to read and especially know and get information about the status of our country. And every time I do my research, I realize that the unemployment in Sint Maarten is rising. And I do believe that unemployment comes with poverty. And a way to combat poverty is to try to work on your unemployment. That's a difficult one for us to work on, because do you know, Felisha, that the unemployment rate now in Sint Maarten, after Irma, with the additional follow-up of the pandemic, not only for Sint Maarten but in the world, making the economy of all countries very difficult, that the unemployment rate now in Sint Maarten is approximately 17 to 18%. That's very high. That's almost 20%. That means 1 out of each 5 person is unemployed in this country. But do you have an idea? It's a very difficult question.
It is.
Felisha, how can we work on that one?
Well, actually, if I go back to what I was saying before, if we can open up those online avenues, then all of a sudden you have more opportunities.
Yeah.
So that works in both ways. But we also would need, our government will have to really make it a specific focus in order to come up with these ideas. Because I know it's easy to critique, but they are there to find these solutions for our younger people, for everybody that lives here, and it has to be a focus. And I know that one of the easier things to reach out to is another international investor, another development, like with the cruise ships, that MOU that was signed.
Yep.
That is, it's almost too easy, because it just increases our reliance on that one avenue. And we can see as time goes on that it's not quite working, because no matter how much huge hotels we have, or no matter how much people we bring in, how much cruise ships dock, we still have this unemployment issue. It's not going away. Yeah. It seems to be increasing. So obviously, going down that one avenue is not the solution, but it seems as if you kind of get blinded to it because it's so common. It's always the first thing that you reach forwards to. And in so doing, you kind of maybe block yourself from thinking in other more unique ways. And I think that may be an issue that we're facing here with our government in this particular time.
Yeah. But Felicia, you said it, right? For example, recently it was brought to the community as if something out of this world happened, that all of a sudden the government signed. It's not even that it's realized, it's just a memorandum of understanding to get an agreement with a cruise ship line to try to get people of Sint Maarten, the younger generation, the opportunity on a cruise ship. As a matter of fact, first of all, as such, the fact that we look for solutions for unemployment, you have to applaud that. But on the other side, the way they brought it is as if we had to recognize the fact that they are doing their job, like they're bringing something exceptional to the country. Well, it's just, as you said, the work they're doing. Secondly, the problem that I had with this initiative that was brought to us is that actually the wages that they pay on the cruise ship are very, very, very low. Actually, you're competing with the wages that they pay to other nationalities, like the Philippines people. They pay. Sometimes you have people from the Latin America. You have people of the Far East that work on those ships, and they do that because they too are in financial crisis, and they need to make sure that they have an income to maintain their family in their country. But I have been a tourist on a cruise ship because I wanted to experience that, and when I was on the ship, I realized that actually it's actually you are there on vacation, but you realize that the people that are helping you for you to have a great vacation are actually people that are being a little misused with a very low salary working on those ships.
Yeah.
And actually, I was recently speaking with somebody, and you said, I had to laugh actually, because he told me, Dr. Messalina, the problem in Sint Maartens are in such a dimension now that the government is not even thinking about on-land solution in the country, and now they are shipping out the people to the sea because they are desperate and don't know what they have to do to solve the social issues and the labor issues of this country. I don't know if you have something to say about it, Felicia.
I think it's a case of just kind of being stuck. So you kind of spin in place, and you do the same thing, and you do the same thing. And I think perhaps with the cruise ships, that sounds different now because it's a cruise ship and it's not another hotel or something, but it is effectively the same thing. And also, they're not guaranteed positions. So it's not as if tomorrow 1,000 people from Sint Maarten will be employed by Royal Caribbean. It's a maybe, it's a could be, but it's not a guarantee. So it's not, to me, it's not a real solution. It's just going further down a path that we've been going down all the time. And then again, we saw what happened when we had the pandemic and then the cruise ships couldn't sail, and how much of a panic that created. Whereas we don't know what we will do without that revenue, and there was absolutely nothing to replace it. So if we have those people on the cruise ships that say, I don't see the real elevation, because if something happens tomorrow and those cruise ships don't sail, we're worse off.
Back to square one.
Yeah. So this is where I think we need the more innovative ideas. And again, because perhaps of my age range, I think that a lot of the possibility with that lies outside of Sint Maarten, but through the digital space.
You believe in it,
I
the
do.
digital space and opportunities to actually combat the unemployment and increase the opportunity for especially the new generation that is very well educated in this digital sector, right?
Yeah, it does promote entrepreneurship, which in itself will promote your pride in your island, because then you would have created something for yourself. Because working for others, that's okay and that's great, but being able to work for yourself, having that freedom as well, is important. And I think that's something that should definitely be encouraged. But we need a bit more ideas, even in that sphere. So even with entrepreneurship, and we open up businesses physically on the island, I like the idea of our young people, whether it's just a part-time thing or whether it's a full-time thing. I just like the idea of them having the freedom to explore different avenues in technology. And I know Sint Maarten has the potential for it. We just need to be able to make the connections. Because as somebody that's lived in the US and in the UK and in the Caribbean, I can feel the difference in connectivity. Because when you live in the US or you live in the EU, you're connected all the time. And you can do things and access things without having to really think about it. And then when you come back here, you notice that for as far as we have gone, because Sint Maarten has made a lot of strides, we're still a bit cut off from the wider world. And if we can get our people more connected, I think opportunities will grow from that alone.
So we have to explore the digital opportunities.
I think so. And there's also so much opportunities for education in that space, because even I have done a lot of online courses with things like Coursera, with things like Skillshare, which I'm sure some young people have heard of, these online learning platforms where you can learn skills for, like, you pay $50 a month or something like that, and you can learn a diverse number of things. So I just feel that there's so much opportunity there in that digital space, and I just want us to be able to access it in the same way that citizens from larger countries are able to access it.
You're putting some lights on here, Felicia, because I do believe that we are not thinking enough in the direction that you are highlighting now. And I think these are great opportunities to help develop country Sint Maarten and give individuals the opportunity to do what they have to do, to get activities done and get business going for themselves. And also, once that's the case, it's going to contribute to the economical development of the country also, of course. You know, I was thinking also, Felicia, what I said, you have to diversify your economy. I was thinking, for example, to become a redistribution internet hub for the environment, for the region. Make it fast internet, because the internet is a problem in this community. It's very slow. We can upgrade ourselves and even supply the environment around us, the region, and become a great internet redistribution hub for the environment, for the region.
I think tech is so important. It's because internet connectivity now is not just a thing that would be nice to have. You kind of have to have it in order to definitely.
Okay. Another one also I thought about for Sint Maarten is seeing its position in the Caribbean is, for example, to become a organized redistribution center for products that are being bought on internet. So if I see, for example, my own kids, sometimes they order something on internet. If I see how much hassle it is before you get it in Sint Maarten, I say if we could organize it in a way that we're going to facilitate our own market at the first place, and also organize it in a way that we can become evident and an example how we can redistribute it for others in the Caribbean too. I see that, for example, as an extra asset to contribute to the economic development of Sint Maarten.
I think that's interesting, because Sint Maarten is kind of a major hub. You see, we get a lot of stuff that come in here, and then they go. So you say they go to Angola. If you spend time in Angola, you will find the majority of things you purchase will come to Sint Maarten first, and then go to Angola.
Exactly.
And the ease, it may be a bit of a hassle, right? But in Sint Maarten, the ease of getting stuff internationally is still much easier than, say, if you were in Angola. It's a lot more of a hassle.
Or in Station.
Right, it's much more of a hassle. So if we can
organize it.
Yeah, I think that would be a positive thing to look at. Anything that positions us as kind of a forefront and a leader in this Caribbean region, I think would be worthwhile.
Of course, I do believe in that. There are many things to improve in our country. Felicia, and we had discussed a few of them, of course. One of the basic ones, Felicia, that I'm convinced that we have to work on is now our political maturity of our politicians. And what do I mean with that is stop thinking the whole day about yourself and start putting the people, the country above self. And I do think and feel that there is a lot of political immaturity in our country, and it has perhaps to do with the fact that we are a young country since 10-10-10 with a lot of issues and a lot of challenges being a young country. But if next to that we are being guided with immature politicians that think the whole day on themselves, never have a vision and a out-of-the-box approach for the problems of the country, we will remain swimming in this muddy water, and we will not get to the level of the country that I envision for Sint Maarten. So hopefully in the nearby future, by the upcoming elections, the people will wake up, as I say, and change their behavior, their voting behavior. And I always say you can only change tomorrow if you start changing today. If you keep doing every day the same, tomorrow will not change. There's a nice way to finalize our interview, Felicia. Felicia, before I close, I would like to give you the floor for you to have the last opportunity to say whatever you would like to say to the listeners of this great radio program.
I would just say that I know there are a lot of things to critique, and I know there are a lot of things that need to be fixed, but I don't want it to all seem negative, because our island is ultimately a beautiful one.
Of course.
And it has so much potential to be a wonderful place to live and to spend our time. And I just want to see us reach that potential. So.
Oh, Felicia, that's a nice way to close it. Felicia, to summarize it, the way to do it is unity, unify, and that's why we have this Unified 3CL in Sint Maarten movement. We believe in unification. Uniting is the power to solve the problems here on earth. If we don't unite, we are not going to get through to achieve what we want for our country and for the world. So unification, unite, work together, hold each other's hands, and try to make it happen for all of us. That is the solution formula for the nearby future of Sint Maarten, especially.
Yeah.
Felicia, once more, I would like to thank you for the time that you took out to be with us in this radio program. I want to acknowledge your great educational background, and I do believe we have to be proud to have persons like you in our community. The only thing is we have to now learn to make a great climate and great atmosphere to make it happen, that we can accommodate our young professionals once they want or once they are back in Sint Maarten, so they can help to contribute to our country. Felicia, once more, thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
And hopefully we all going to get to a point that we will look at each other and say we have achieved what we wanted for our country.
Yes.
Thank you once more. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with us in this radio program, and I'm looking forward to be back with you next week, Wednesday, from 6 to 7 p.m. on Radio Mix 94.7 FM. Good night, everybody.